Grandma, in her wisdom, knew a secret we're only just rediscovering in our apartment-filled world. You don't need a lot of ground to create a paradise. You don't need acres. All you need is a pot, a little soil, a sturdy support, and the right climbing companions. Rather than bare walls and empty shelves, imagine you're welcomed by a cascade of beautiful green vines, all draping out of pots. So, let's untangle some of these lush vines and rediscover the 25 best climbing plants Grandma grew in containers. Morning Glory. Grandma was an early bird, and so were her morning glories. We'd race downstairs to see who could spot the first unfurled flower, their brilliant blues and vibrant purples glistening with morning dew. They were a daily promise of a new beginning, a burst of joy that greeted the sun long before we were awake. These beauties are renowned for their heart-shaped leaves and vibrant trumpet-shaped flowers that open up in the morning sun. When planted in a container with a simple trellis to cling to and climb, they're capable of taking off quickly and transforming any space. They are annuals that adore full, blazing sun. The more sun, the more blooms. How about a little maintenance tip? Always keep the soil moderately moist, which means using a well-draining potting mix. Moonflower. If morning glories woke up Grandma's garden, moonflowers put it to bed with a lullaby. As dusk settled, we'd wait with bated breath on the porch swing, watching the large, tightly furled buds. Then, like magic, they'd slowly open up into pristine, luminous white flowers, releasing an intoxicating, lemon-sweet perfume that filled the night air. I can remember how we'll all gather round just to watch Grandma's moonflowers do their thing. While these annuals open up at dusk, they demand full sun to produce their spectacular evening show. Just like morning glories, they thrive in a rich, well-draining potting mix. However, that's where the similarities end, because they are heavier feeders than morning glories, so Grandma would work in a slow-release fertilizer at planting time. Nevertheless, the spectacular dinner plate-sized blooms are worth it. Sweet Pea Vine. The scent of sweet peas is a memory that doesn't fade easily. I remember when Grandma would let us help her sow the hard, pea-like seeds. We'd train the delicate tendrils up a netted trellis, and she'd teach us the most important rule. The more you pick, the more they bloom. We'd fill tiny jam jars with miniature bouquets, bringing the garden's delicate fragrance inside. Sweet pea vines are popular for their pinnate leaves, generally having two leaflets with a terminal tendril that twines around structures to help the plant climb, as well as their beautiful flowers that come in purple, pink, lavender, red, white, and scarlet, often highly fragrant. These guys love cool weather, so plant them as soon as the soil can be worked in spring. Also, water regularly and never leave them to dry out. Black-eyed Susan Vine. Spunky, cheerful, and endlessly charming, this vine tumbled joyfully from Grandma's hanging baskets. The bright yellow, orange, or white flowers with their dark, button-like centers seem to smile back at you. That's the black-eyed Susan vine's main selling point. That, alongside its opposite, oval to triangular or heart-shaped leaves. Grown as an annual, it thrives in full sun, but will tolerate very light shade. Grandma would usually leave her black-eyed Susans hanging on the porch. Always seemed like the best spot to give it just the right amount of sunlight. Maintenance? A light breeze. Ensure the container drains properly, keep it watered, and it will bloom its heart out all summer. It's self-clinging but appreciates a small trellis or wires to get started. Scarlet Runner Bean. If you're looking for a quick-growing vine, then look no further than this fiery beauty. It grew so fast we could almost watch it climb the bean teepee Grandma built for us. We'd marvel at the clusters of fiery red hummingbird magnet flowers and then watch in awe as those flowers magically turned into long green beans. Helping her shell them for dinner felt like a real accomplishment. Beauty and bounty, all in one pot. Each flower has a classic pea flower shape with petals forming a hood-like petal at the top, wings on the sides, and a keel formed by two fused lower petals. These flowers bloom mostly during the summer and are highly attractive to hummingbirds and bees. The best part? Beans are legumes and can fix their own nitrogen, so they don't need rich soil. An average, well-draining potting mix is just fine. However, you do have to provide a very sturdy support, a teepee, a tall trellis, or a fence. The sturdier, the better. Nasturtium. How about another vine that's completely edible? What do you know about nasturtiums? I remember how Grandma and I adored the bright round nasturtium leaves that looked like lily pads and the cheerful spur-shaped flowers in shades of orange, yellow, and red. Best of all, Grandma would let us pick the flowers and leaves to add to our summer salads. And who could forget their peppery, radish-like flavor? They do well in full sun to partial shade. In fact, in very hot climates, they appreciate a little afternoon shade. Here's Grandma's biggest secret. They thrive even better in poor soil. If you plant them in a rich, fertilized potting mix, you'll get a jungle of leaves and very few flowers. Use an average mix and resist the urge to fertilize. Plus, they're drought-tolerant once established. English ivy. While other vines in Grandma's garden came and went with the seasons, English ivy was the constant. It was the elegant, dark green backdrop against which the brighter flowers shone. It draped gracefully from her porch pots, making her little nook feel like a cozy, year-round sanctuary. The English ivy isn't nearly as colorful as the other vines we've talked about. The leaves are variable, but generally dark green, glossy, and waxy, with a leathery texture. What does make it a garden favorite, though, is just how hardy it is. It thrives in partial to full shade, making it a hero for dark corners where little else will grow. All you have to do is water regularly, give it a haircut with sharp shears every now and then, and you're good. Star Jasmine. How about a vine that doesn't just please the eyes, but also perfumes the entire space? The scent of star jasmine is forever linked to Grandma's summer evenings. Its pinwheel white flowers, nestled among glossy green leaves, filled the entire patio with a fragrance so heavenly it felt almost divine. We'd sit outside long after dark, after just watching the moonflower unfurl, listening to the crickets and breathing in that intoxicating perfume. Star jasmine is perennial in warmer zones. They also love full sun to partial shade. A rich, well-draining, slightly acidic potting mix will have these beauties blooming in no time. Lastly, provide a sturdy trellis or wires for it to twine around and water regularly, especially during its first year. Do all these and enjoy a breathtaking scent that stays with you forever. Honeysuckle. Honeysuckle was an interactive experience. Grandma would get all of us involved. She taught us how to carefully pluck a single, tubular flower and pinch the bottom to pull out the stamen, releasing a single, precious drop of sweet nectar onto our tongues. It was the literal taste of sunshine, and not to mention its special fragrance. The honeysuckle leaves are opposite, ovate to oblong, medium to dark green, and have smooth edges with a slightly glossy texture. Its flowers appear in clusters or pairs in the leaf axils, all adding to its overall beauty. The vine is deciduous in colder regions and evergreen in warmer climates. Honeysuckles are adaptable to various soil types, but prefer well-drained, moist soil and full to partial sun. What's more is that they're vigorous climbers, so annual pruning is essential to keep them from becoming a tangled mess in their container. Clematis. With its large, stunning blooms in shades of deep purple, velvety red, and soft pink, the clematis always commanded attention. It was hard to miss, really. She had a few different varieties, and she always recited the same mantra: keep their feet in the shade and their head in the sun. We'd help her plant a small, shallow-rooted companion, like alyssum, around the base of the pot to shade the roots. A clever trick we never forgot. And you shouldn't either if you want to grow this vine. The clematis is perennial, with varieties for many zones. A neutral to slightly alkaline, well-draining potting mix is crucial. They hate soggy feet. Pruning is key and depends on the type. Some bloom on old wood, some on new. So know your variety. Provide a trellis for its leaf stems to cling to. Water deeply and regularly, and you should be good. Madagascar Jasmine. This was Grandma's prized indoor climber, often grown in a pot on a sunny windowsill during the colder months. Its waxy, snow-white, star-shaped flowers were perfectly formed and had an incredibly rich, sweet fragrance. She told us they were a symbol of marital happiness, and she'd occasionally tuck a sprig into her buttonhole for a special occasion. The Madagascar jasmine needs very bright, indirect light. When summer comes around, ensure you keep the soil consistently moist. It also needs high humidity. It's a bit of a diva, but the flawless blooms are worth the effort. Climbing Rose. Trained up a small, white-painted obelisk in a large wooden half-barrel, the Climbing Rose's fragrant, blousy blooms in soft pink or classic red were an absolute showstopper in Grandma's garden, the stuff of fairy tales and poetry. She'd often cut a single, perfect rose to place in a bud vase on the kitchen table, a small act of everyday elegance. Unlike true climbing plants, they do not cling by tendrils, but rely on tying their arching stems to supports. Their dark green, glossy leaves provide a lush backdrop to large, showy blossoms that range from small, delicate single flowers to large, opulent doubles in a variety of colors. They demand full sun. We're talking at least 6 hours a day. A rich, loamy, well-draining potting mix is essential. Grandma always mixed in a generous amount of compost. Water deeply at the base, avoiding the leaves to prevent disease. Bougainvillea. You can spot the Bougainvillea from pretty much anywhere. It isn't a shy plant. Look at it. It's a celebration in a pot, a cascade of fuchsia, brilliant orange, or deep purple that seem to shout with joy. Those vibrant flowers, which are actually papery bracts surrounding the tiny true flower, often spilled over Grandma's biggest terracotta pot, creating a Mediterranean vibe right on her patio. This vine is a vigorous grower, though, often reaching heights of 15 to 40 feet with a spread of 10 to 20 feet. Bougainvillea blooms profusely and can flower multiple times a year in warm climates, sometimes nearly year-round. What's more, it's very drought-tolerant once established. One downside to this otherwise perfect vine is that it's thorny, but if you're fine with a few pricks, then the Bougainvillea would look just perfect out on your porch. Mandevilla. With its large glossy leaves and big trumpet-shaped flowers in brilliant pink or lipstick red, Mandevilla, alongside the Bougainvillea, made Grandma's patio feel like a luxurious tropical getaway. It was a relatively new plant in her time, but she adored its continuous showy display and vigorous yet manageable growth habit. It climbs by twining its stems around supports. The vine features glossy, oval-shaped, dark green leaves that range from 2 to 8 inches long with a smooth or slightly leathery texture. The flowers of Mandevilla are large, trumpet-shaped and highly showy, blooming from late spring through fall. It loves full sun and warmth. It thrives better in a rich, peat-based, well-draining potting mix. It can be brought indoors to a sunny spot to overwinter in colder climates. Lastly, don't forget to water regularly and deeply during the growing season. Trumpet Vine. This vine was a dedicated wildlife sanctuary. Its clusters of long, fiery orange-red trumpets were an irresistible beacon for hummingbirds. I can remember the afternoons when we'd sit perfectly still on the porch steps, hoping to see one of the tiny iridescent birds hover and dive right into the flowers. The plant has compound leaves made up of 7 to 13 shiny dark green leaflets that are ovate to lance-shaped with coarsely serrated edges. The foliage provides a medium texture and turns yellow in the fall before dropping. It got its name from its flowers, which are striking and trumpet-shaped, usually orange to reddish-orange with a yellow throat. It needs full sun to flower profusely. This is a vigorous, powerful grower. It must be grown in a very large, sturdy container to control its spread. Passionflower Vine. We were utterly mesmerized by this vine. Its intricate, otherworldly flowers, with their crown of filaments in shades of purple, blue, and white, looked like something from another planet. Years might have passed, but the beauty and allure of the Passionflower vine still remain. This is a fast-growing perennial vine that climbs by axillary tendrils. It can grow aggressively to cover large areas, reaching lengths of 10 to 25 feet or more under good conditions. The leaves are alternate, palmately lobed with 3 to 5 lobes, and have distinctive nectar-secreting glands at the base of the leaf blade. Growing this beauty varies by species. Nevertheless, here's one thing that's constant with most. They need full sun to partial shade and a rich, well-draining potting mix. In warm climates, some varieties will produce edible passion fruit after flowering, a delicious bonus. Prune early on to control its size. Wisteria. Grown in a very large, sturdy wooden barrel, Grandma's Wisteria was the pinnacle of garden drama. In late spring, its long, fragrant clusters of purple or white flowers cascaded down like a living curtain, creating the perfect dappled shade spot for storytelling. The gentle hum of bees and its grape soda scent is yet another core memory from my childhood. The leaves are alternate, pinnately compound, typically with 9 to 19 leaflets that are glossy dark green, emerging at the time of flowering or just prior. The flowers hang in long, drooping racemes. Unfortunately, growing the wisteria is far from a walk in the park. It can take 3 to 5 years for a young plant to flower. So, patience is key, but the reward is magic. See for yourself. It must have full sun to flower well. It also needs an immensely strong support, a wrought iron trellis or pergola. Climbing hydrangea. Here's a slow and steady winner for the shadier side of Grandma's porch. It took a year or two to settle in, but once it did, it covered the wall with large heart-shaped leaves and, in summer, produced beautiful lacy white flower clusters. The climbing hydrangea's dark green leaves provide an attractive backdrop to the plant's signature blooms, adding to the general appeal and beauty of the vine. It uniquely thrives in partial to full shade and prefers a rich, moist, well-draining potting mix. It is less drought-tolerant than others. It clings by aerial roots, so a rough surface like a wooden trellis or a brick wall is ideal. Once established, it is very low maintenance. Alamanda. Often called Bougainvillea's cousin, Alamanda was another tropical showstopper. Its large, glossy leaves provided a perfect backdrop for the constant procession of huge, butter-yellow, trumpet-shaped flowers. It was a constant source of sunshine on Grandma's patio, blooming all summer long and with very little fuss as well. Its leaves are glossy, dark green, leathery, and ovate to lance-shaped, growing in whorls of 3 or more along the stems. Just like the Bougainvillea, Alamanda demands full sun. It also needs a rich, well-draining potting mix. Water regularly, but ensure excellent drainage, and you should be good. Canary Creeper. A fun and vigorous cousin to the Nasturtium, this vine stole our hearts with its charming, deeply lobed leaves and frilly canary yellow flowers that truly looked like little birds fluttering through the greenery. It was less common than its cousin, which made it feel a bit more special in Grandma's collection. Spotting it isn't a hassle either. Its standout feature is the vibrant yellow flowers, which have deeply fringed, spurred petals resembling the wings of small canaries in flight. What you're looking at is an annual that enjoys cool weather, much like sweet peas. Unlike many other vines, avoid rich soils with this beauty for better flowering. Provide a net or trellis for it to scramble up, keep it watered, and it will bloom profusely until the heat of summer knocks it back. Cypress Vine. Here's one vine that's often mistaken for morning glory. I know I made that mistake quite a few times growing up. Its feathery, fern-like foliage created the finest texture in the garden, a delicate cloud of green from which emerged tiny star-shaped flowers in brilliant red, pink, or white. Hummingbirds adored them even more than the larger blooms, and we loved watching birds just hover around them. Cypress vine prefers full sun and well-drained soil, tolerates heat and drought once established, but requires regular watering during growth. It's easy to grow, with one little downside though. It's considered a bit weedy or invasive in certain regions due to its prolific self-seeding. However, besides that, it's low maintenance and adds a light, delicate texture with brilliant scarlet blooms to vertical garden spaces. Hop vine. Do you know there's a vine used in brewing? Yes, this beauty, hop vines. But for Grandma, it was all about the rapid, luxuriant growth and the fascinating, papery hops that dangled like little pale green pine cones. She loved the look of the vigorous, rough-textured leaves and the unique cones, which made a fantastic conversation piece for anyone who stepped foot in her garden. The leaves are large, deeply lobed with serrated edges, and typically consist of 3 to 5 lobes. They are a medium to dark green color and have a rough texture. The hop plant is dioecious, meaning male and female flowers grow on separate plants. It prefers full sun. In a pot, the hop vine will grow vigorously, and all you have to do is provide a strong support and a rich, moist, well-draining potting mix. Sweet Autumn Clematis. Just as summer was winding down and the light took on a golden hue, this vigorous vine would perform its big finish. It would cover itself in a cloud of tiny, star-shaped white flowers, smelling intensely of sweet vanilla and honey. The entire plant would hum with every bee and butterfly in the neighborhood, a final glorious feast before the cold set in. Let's talk about the Sweet Autumn Clematis. The foliage consists of compound, leathery textured, shiny green leaves composed of 3 to 5 oval to elliptic leaflets with heart-shaped bases. This is a very hardy perennial. Prune it hard in late winter or early spring, cutting all stems back to about 12 inches. This seems drastic, but it ensures a lush, compact plant covered in blooms the following autumn. Cup and Saucer Vine. A fast-growing, quirky heirloom that fascinated us. We watched the large, bell-shaped flowers develop, starting out as a pale green and slowly maturing into a deep, regal purple. The unique saucer at the base of the bloom made it look like a fairy's tea set. This vine climbs using tendrils that twist around supports such as trellises, fences, or walls. Its foliage consists of dark green leaves that are divided into 2 or 3 pairs of oval leaflets, each growing up to about 4 inches long, providing a lush backdrop. The best part? The flowers emit a musky fragrance and bloom from midsummer through fall. Cup and Saucer Vine prefers full sun and well-drained, moderately fertile soil. Also, don't be too generous while watering. And here's one final tip. Soak seeds overnight before planting to improve germination. Hyacinth Bean Vine. Utterly enchanting from top to bottom. This vine has it all: purple-veined leaves, lovely clusters of pinkish-purple flowers, and most striking of all, shiny amethyst-purple seed pods. It's a plant of 3-season interest. Grandma would save the beautiful dried pods for winter arrangements. This is an annual that loves full sun and heat. It will also do great in a pot as long as it has a rich, well-draining potting mix. It is a vigorous grower and will quickly create a beautiful screen. So, provide a sturdy pot and an even sturdier trellis. Finally, the beautiful beans are ornamental and not for eating, as they are toxic unless properly prepared. Make sure your kids know that. Grandma's garden was a testament to the idea that the simplest things, a pot, a seed, a little water, and a lot of love, can build the most cherished memories. So, find a sturdy pot, grab a bag of soil, and plant a little nostalgia. What was the climbing plant you remember most from your grandmother's garden? Share your memory in the comments below. We'd love to hear it and keep those beautiful stories growing. Until next time, my green-thumbed friends.